This is probably as close as you're going to get to any actual truth that exists on this planet. The civilization they built was the Atlantean civilization. The Great Pyramid is encoded with super advanced knowledge, pi, phi, and so many other incredible mathematical formulas. Why would the speed of light be encoded into the Great Pyramid? How would they know how Earth formed that many millions of years ago? Where did that knowledge come from? But look at this. The history of the Emerald Tablets translated in the following pages is strange and beyond the belief of modern scientists. Their antiquity is stupendous, dating back some 36,000 years BC. So we're talking about 38,000-year-old text. The writer is Thoth, an Atlantean priest king who founded a colony in the ancient Egypt after the sinking of the mother country. He was the builder of the Great Pyramid of Giza, erroneously attributed to Cheops. In it, he incorporated his knowledge of the ancient wisdom and also securely secreted records and instruments of ancient Atlantis. You see, the people that came here in ancient times and engaged mankind, they were the Anunnaki, but that is a term that means from heaven came to earth. The civilization they built was the Atlantean civilization. You see, Atlantean is a civilization name. The people were the Anunnaki. This guy ruled for 16,000 years, according to the ancient Egyptians, one person. We're talking about a record of people that were here on this planet that had enormous and immense lifespans and had advanced technology that engaged mankind and altered us forever. The Ring City itself was one capital of dozens of capitals that existed on this planet. Because if you read the Emerald Tablets, Thoth says after we raised Kemet to a high level, he told his crew that he brought there with him in a ship that descended from the sky. There are 37 verses of various objects in the Bible described as UFOs, and they are flying furnaces, burning bushes, eagles' wings, smokes, stars, and other objects that the ancient authors used to describe the fleet of the vehicles of the Elohim. The fleet of the vehicle of the Elohim. The Elohim is a plural term. In the Bible, it means gods, plural with an S. You see, in the Bible, where you see the word God, singular, there's a little bit of a mistake that happened by accident on purpose. They forgot the S. If you go back and translate the words back into Aramaic and even further back, you discover that the word is actually gods. In all these ancient scriptures and papyruses that they took from all these caves as they began to culminate this into a canonized book, I'm talking about the Council of Nicaea who did this, they began to erase the S when they copied and translated over the book because they wanted to usher in monotheism, a one God religion, a one God mindset. Virtually all religions worship and believe in aliens, and it's a fact. Whether you want to admit it or not, it's an absolute fact. We're worshiping something that's not of this world, whether it's multidimensional, whether it is dimensional, it doesn't matter. This is a fact that we can't escape. Where do a lot of this information come from? The Enuma Elish and the 7 tablets of creation is one of the greatest texts that exist that we have access to. And they tell an incredible story of not only of the creation of our solar system, they tell an incredible story of the creation of Earth itself as an actual planet, which matches up with astrophysical data. It matches. How would they know how Earth formed that many millions of years ago? Where did that knowledge come from? How did they know about the separation of waters from waters, how the asteroid belt was formed and everything else that exists in our solar system? It's in these ancient tablets. It then goes into the point where there's actual people that are advanced beings that find a way to get to Earth to create a breakaway civilization. And what I think happened was these people were writing down exactly what they were told and what they saw. This is probably as close as you're going to get to any actual truth that exists on this planet, which is why I dig into these ancient tablets like there's nobody's business. And guess what? Every single person in here can read these tablets now. You don't need to be an expert in translation because these tablets were translated long before Zecharia Sitchin was even born. The Great Pyramid is encoded with super advanced knowledge, pi, phi, and so many other incredible mathematical formulas, advanced knowledge. So when you look into these pyramids, it's a time capsule. It's a time capsule that's describing and telling us, for the age we're living in now, who was here in ancient times and how advanced they were. Because at the time that this information was encoded into the pyramid, which I'm going to go over real quick, I did a little bit of it last year, nobody at the time could even conceive or understand anything that was being encoded. They couldn't even understand basic mathematics. Most people were actually illiterate back then. Most people were illiterate. And if you were just a worker person, a person that had to go, work in the fields or work for your master, which is what happened back then as well. I mean, slavery is ancient. Slavery is not nothing new. Well, you wouldn't even walk around with clothes on in ancient Egypt because they wanted to make sure you weren't stealing anything from the pharaoh. So people didn't have any idea of this advanced mathematical knowledge. They were just trying to survive day by day, literally. The pyramid over time had broken slightly in terms of the amount of power it was generating. It's a power generator. They added this granite stone box later, and they put the Ark of the Covenant in it to make a finishing piece to continue to generate electricity. You can see the corner that's broken, that huge chunk. If you can see the far side of the room, there's a gigantic hole or indentation in the granite where that chunk of granite flew off and smashed into the wall because an enormous amount of power came through this box at one point, proving again energy inside this chamber. The energy would travel to the apex and go around. The obelisk would capture that wireless energy and transmit it to jets, which would then be transmitted through electrical cables so they can have light, gold electroplating, and everything else. It's ancient technology that we have here. This is ancient stuff. We had to plug this stuff in. My computer's got to be plugged in or it's going to die. Back then, they used wireless electricity. Here I am in the King's Chamber again. So you can see that the speed of light in a vacuum is, right there, 299,792,458 meters per second. And the geographic coordinates for the Grand Gallery of the Great Pyramid is 299,792,458. What is that? How is that possible that this can be encoded? Why would the speed of light be encoded into the Great Pyramid? Now people say, well, meters per second, we just discovered meters. No, actually not. We actually didn't just discover meters. Okay, let me show you why. If you go and look, you'll find that all of these school books are actually wrong and need to be corrected, because we've actually known for a very long time about these stone tablets discovered with Proto-Sumerian cuneiform. Now, Sumerian is where? Mesopotamia, which is where now? Iraq. Guess where these Proto-Sumerian cuneiform tablets were discovered in the world? They were discovered in Mexico by the Pyramid of the Sun. What in the world are Sumerian tablets doing in Mexico? And these aren't the only ones. There were some Indian chief that was dug up from his burial chamber in America, and where we live over there, across the pond, right? Where he had Sumerian tablets in his pocket. Now, what's interesting about these tablets are, that's the ancient metric system. So the metric system is ancient. It's not new. Stop. What they taught you in school, you got to forget about it. Wipe your brain clean and start fresh. This is the original discovery of the metric system here, which came out of Mexico, which originated where? From Sumerian cuneiform tablets. This is why I study the tablets, because they're as close as you can possibly get to the accurate truth. You know how much Wikipedia doesn't like to post this kind of information? If I took the Great Pyramid and I scaled it up 43,200 times, it will fit directly inside of the planet Earth, and each point will touch one part of the inside of the Earth. This is an astonishing discovery. This is actually just a map, a geological survey map of Avebury in the UK. And what's really interesting is it perfectly matches with a place on Mars called Cydonia.